and we're gonna replace it with a black romance. Hey, welcome back to my channel. I have tried to record this video so many times because this is more like just a talking video. It's not a reading vlog. I saw the Goodreads Choice Awards. I saw specifically the romance category. I was so excited to vote. Child, what was that? What was it? So we're going to be discussing, or I'm going to be discussing the romance category and actually swapping out a ton of books and replacing them with romances by BIPOC authors. There are some books that can stay. Honestly, I've heard that they were really good. I think that's my main issue. A lot of these books that I saw on in this category, some of them I actually heard that they're super great, and some of them I honestly feel like they're only on there because of the author. The author maybe had a super popular romance book published in a previous year. Honestly, anything that they publish now is going to be super popular. Even if no one really liked it, a lot of people are just going to read it, right? They're going to get tons of thousands of reviews and ratings. If you don't want me to hate on your favorite book, because I will tell you now, I did not read any of these books. I don't plan on reading any of them. I just want to replace a ton of them. And that's what I want to do. Let's get started. We're going to start with the books that can stay. I have 8-ish or 7-ish that can stay. When I get to the last one, I'll kind of explain why I'm iffy on keeping it. But let's just go down the row. Powerless, Things We Hide from the Light, You Again, The 7-Year Slip, Practice Makes Perfect, A Long Time Coming, Yours Truly. I have genuinely heard that the books are great. Will I read them again? No, I don't plan on it. But I've heard tons of great things about them. The ish book is Happy Place. I'm going to keep it on the list, but honestly, this book is on there because of who wrote the book. And the reason why I want to take it off so bad is because I haven't heard anything nice about the book. Honestly, I haven't heard that a ton of people loved it. Obviously, the ratings and the reviews speak for itself, sure. But I'm talking about people like who I've seen make videos, who I've seen talk about it. They say this is like the least favorite book of theirs. Some people don't understand what people like about it, and they've read it. So again, this person will always be on this list if they come out with romance. I believe they're coming out with another one sometime next year. I'm sure it's going to make the list, and I'm sure it's going to win, right? Happy Place is going to win, so I might as well just keep it on the list. Sure. And to reiterate, this is my personal opinion. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty. These next books need to be taken off immediately. In a perfect world, in my world, these books need to be taken off and replaced. Number 1, romantic comedy. I heard it wasn't a romance. I heard through the little peeps, the little grapevine, I heard it wasn't a romance at all. It had like 1% romance. That's what I heard, okay? Argue with your mama. So we're going to replace that with Taste Like Shakar. Why did that not make the list? There are 2 books in particular that I will be saying there's no reason as to why this didn't make the list. Nisha Sharma made the list last year with the first book in this series. And this is a book that everyone has read, right? Not just a specific community. Everyone has read this book. And if you haven't, what are you doing with your life? Why have you not read this book yet? In the likely event, no one, and I mean no one, knew that this woman published, I'm not even going to say her name. What is that, 3 books this year? Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and this book. No one knew she published this book. I'm honestly convinced that anyone who has read this book, who rated this book, who reviewed this book, I am 100% convinced you're lying. She's definitely one of those authors who is literally only in this category. This book is only in this category because she wrote Fourth Wing and everyone loved it. I read it. I loved it. Will I be finishing the series? No. I'm not planning on reading the next book. Honestly, I probably shouldn't have read Fourth Wing, but I caved in. I was convinced, and I read it, and I did like it. We're going to take it out, and we're going to switch it with The Art of Scandal by Regina Black. I don't know if this is a black romance. I know that the FMC is black. The author is black. I just don't know if it's a black romance, right? A black romance is not only a romance written by a black author, but it has to have 2 black characters. I'm not positive of the MMC. I haven't read this yet, but I have heard nothing but great things about this book. All of my mutuals have read this. They've loved it. I've heard great things about it. Hello Stranger. I believe that's by Catherine Sensor. I believe she's only on the list because she wrote the Bodyguard or something. that was published last year. Some people who I saw, they didn't even know she published this book. We're gonna swap that out with A Black Romance by Natasha Bishop called Only for the Weak. Great book. I've read it, loved it. It should have been on the list. Love Theoretically. Again, I honestly feel like she only made it on the list because of who she is. And I've heard kind of all her books are kind of the same. That's what I heard. We're gonna swap it out with Insta Love. Again, another Black romance. A book that everyone should read. It's, what do you call it? Like a reality TV dating show type of book. It was so good. She's a fantastic writer. Pucking Around, let's be honest. This book is only on here because of the scandal that happened on Book Talk with the Kraken. The hockey team and a certain book influencer. And I believe this book got pulled into it because people found out that the influencer who is at the front of this read that book, and that book got her into hockey romances. So that's literally the only reason why this book made it on the list. I'll replace it with Syndicate of Sins. I believe this is a Why Choose by a Latinx author. I don't want to... She might be Mexican. I don't know. I don't remember. It's getting a little hot in here. So take off all your clothes. Anyway, so we're going to replace with that. I've read it. I loved it. I think this is the second book. You guys might recognize Skeletons of Society because that was the first book. That was super popular. It came out last year. This is the one that came out this year. Meet Me at the Lake. No one has liked this book. I have not heard one positive thing about this book. With Happy Place, again, I feel like I've heard more negative reviews about this book than positive, but I've still heard a couple of positive. But Meet Me at the Lake, I have not heard one good thing about this book. How could that possibly be in the running for best romance? That's why Goodreads needs to change how they collect this data. Because honestly, you're really just collecting data of books that have been read a lot, because I've not heard one positive thing. Now, I don't even know what the rating is. I wouldn't be surprised if it is a 4. So it's probably going to take a while to come up. And so I'll come back to it because I want to see what the rating is. So we're going to replace that with Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. Why was this not on the list? This was published November 15th of last year. However, the Goodreads Choice Awards opened on the 15th, so it didn't make the cutoff. So this book should have made it onto this year's Choice Awards. Where was it? This is one of the books everyone has read, not just Black readers, not just like other BIPOC readers. White people have read this. They loved it. Why was this not on the list? Oh, it did. Okay, so Meet Me at the Lake, 3.72. How is that in the running for best romance? I wonder if this is, out of all of the ones who made the list, if this is the least. I should have looked up the ratings, but I didn't want to do that much research, honestly. I just wanted to be a hater in this video. They have over 148,000 ratings, and it's only a 3.72? Be for real. Be for real. 2 stars. Let's see, 2 stars. What is... This is an average of a 4, then a 3-star, then a 5, then a 2, then a 1. The Long Game. Now, I originally thought that this author only made it because of their name. Their name sounds ethnic. However, I haven't really done my research, but I did see, because someone left a comment that they thought, because when people were talking about the lack of diversity, and people said, like, this category only has one BIPOC author. And some people were confused because, you know, they have Abby Jimenez. But again, she's not BIPOC herself. That's her last name by marriage. That's her husband's last name. But people brought up this author. And now I'm just going by the comment. But somebody questioned, they thought that this was by a BIPOC author. Someone said Abby Jimenez is white. Elena is from Spain, but they don't know what her race is. Well, someone said Lauren Asher is Cuban. Yeah, so Elena, this person, so that's kind of why I thought she made the list. But honestly, I didn't realize she was the author that wrote The Spanish Love Deception. That's why she made the list. It was super popular last year, but honestly, I think the same thing about this book, the same way I think about Happy Place. A ton of people read it, but I've heard mixed reviews. I don't think a lot of people like loved the book. Maybe when it first came out, but when like a ton of people started reading it, that's when I started hearing more negative reviews about it. I'm gonna replace that with a Latinx romance, A Dish Best Served Hot. I read A Proposal They Can't Refuse last year. Oh no, I read it this year. I thought it was gonna be on this year's in this year's category, but I didn't realize it was published last year. And what's so funny is I loved it. I loved it. And I was like, I kept seeing, because I follow the author now, and I kept seeing her and other readers promote this book, A Dish Best Served Hot. And I'm like, oh, like it's coming out soon. It's coming out. Tell me why it's been out since June, I believe. I had no idea. I just assumed every time I saw the book, like on my feed, that they were like promoting it for when it comes out like next year. Because I think I was under the impression that A Proposal They Can't Refuse came out this year, and it didn't. But yeah, it's on my radar. I want to read it very soon. I haven't gotten it yet. Right Move. I'm a hater. Get it off the list. Get it off the list. Get it out my face. I don't know if this is the one with the characters that are black. I don't know which one that is. This might be the second book. I don't want to see anything about this author. Again, this is my video. This is my personal opinion. I have not read either one of the books. I don't plan on it. Get it off the list immediately. And we're going to replace it with a black romance. We're going to replace it with Winter's Eve, Then, Now, and Always by A.E. Valdez. I have not read this book yet. I honestly keep putting it off because it's a long book. I have a hate-love relationship with long romance books. I think it's about like 400 pages. I have heard nothing but great things about the book. The author herself is fantastic. I think I've only read one of her books so far. It's actually in one of my other reading vlogs that I did. Wildfire. Is this the one by Hannah Grace? I don't have authors' names on here. It's just a little spreadsheet. I believe this is the one by Hannah Grace. I don't know if I've heard a lot of things about this book. I believe this is the same author that wrote the hockey one. The ice skater and the hockey player. I've heard great things about that book. I just don't feel like I've heard enough about this book for it to be in this category. I'm going to replace it with a book that I have not read yet, but I've heard great things about it. This is a sapphic romance by, who's it by? Adriana Herrera or something? It's called An Island Princess Starts a Scandal. This is a historical romance. I'm not like into historical fiction, I've read a couple, but I've heard great things about it. And I know that I've been talking about this category lacking BIPOC authors, but I did hear that this was lacking a ton of LGBTQIA plus romances. I heard that the only one that I can think of, I think Pucking Around. I thought Pucking Around was an MM romance. But one of the books had a bisexual character. And I get that, right? I don't want to ignore that. Some people just didn't like that people were ignoring the one book on here that had the characters was like bisexual or something. That's just what I was saying on the gram. So yeah, we're gonna replace it with a sapphic romance. Final Offer. I believe that's the one by Lauren Asher, right? I just haven't really heard great things about the book. That's the only reason I'm taking it off. Okay, 4.27, 159,000 ratings. I don't know. Maybe it's just the people I follow that just said like that was their least favorite or something. And I could be confusing this with the other book I'm gonna mention. I'll replace it regardless with an indigenous romance. Now this is the only book that just did not have a ton of people review it, like period. People that I have heard speak about it, I've heard great things about it. Lizards Hold the Sun. I haven't read it yet. I'm planning on it. This is an indigenous romance. And I feel like personally, I just don't see a lot of indigenous recommendations. I've read a couple of indigenous books or books by indigenous authors with indigenous characters, but not a romance. I don't believe I've ever read a romance. I've read Winter Counts, for example, but that's, I think it's promoted as a thriller, but honestly, I believe it's crime fiction. I've read that. I have another thriller, or I have a thriller that's on my list. I forgot what it's called. But again, it's not a romance. So I don't believe I've read any romances with indigenous characters by an indigenous... I totally forgot Scarlett St. Clair. I found out like a couple of weeks ago, Scarlett St. Clair is Indigenous. We're gonna replace it regardless. And then we have True Love. Is that the one by Christina Lauren? I don't know. I just found out Christina Lauren is actually 2 authors. It's Christina and Lauren. I thought Christina Lauren was like one person until I saw that they blurbed a book and they were saying like we, and I'm like, oh, 2 people. Let me make sure that this is by Christina Lauren, because I only wrote down True Love. I didn't write down the full title. So I'm assuming, because again, I don't have authors on here, I'm assuming I'm talking about the True Love Experiment. Yeah, and I just was too lazy to write down the whole thing. So we're gonna swap that out. I just really haven't heard tons of good things about it. We're gonna switch that out with an romance. I believe this is by a man as well. Teacher of the Year. Let me see, because I do know Teacher of the Year that the books had to have at least like a 3.50. Yeah, this is a 3.84. I've heard great things about the book. Has over 3,000 ratings. And then the last book. I believe this is technically the book by like the BIPOC representation that we get. King of Pride, I believe that's by Anna Huang. I honestly haven't heard anything good about this book. I'm going to replace this with another romance. I believe it's by Case and Calendar, Stars in Your Eyes. I have an art copy of this book. It's published by Forever Publishing, which is an imprint of Hachette or Hachette. I haven't read it yet because I was low-key putting it off so I could read the other book by Case and Calendar that came out last year. And I just finished it last night, Felix Ever After. It has transgender representation. Case and Calendar is also transgender. I didn't realize that. I read their author's note after I finished the book. I finally read that book, so I want to get into this one. This is adult, I believe. The other one is YA. Hopefully I can read it soon. It might be in a video. I might try and fit that in a reading vlog. Those were the books from that specific category, from the romance category, that I just believe some of these books should not have been on it. Now, could the books that I gave as a replacement, I do understand that some of these books just could have been on there because just comparing 3,000 ratings to like 400,000 or 300,000. I understand that, but I also believe that something needs to change. That's just not right. And I also hate this narrative that some people are saying, oh, you know, this isn't like Goodreads' fault, like this is readers' fault, so readers aren't reading it. Readers are, but I think that's people giving that specific argument. You're telling on yourself. To me, you're telling me that you're not reading it. And it is a certain demographic, let's be honest. I feel like that's telling on y'all. Y'all aren't reading it. Everyone else is reading these books. You know, and it's just sad. I know we have so many different discussions on reading diversely and trying to convince people to read diversely. Like, I'm not about to convince you to read diversely. At this point, if you aren't going out of your way to read diversely yourself, that's a you problem. I'm just going to tell you, you're missing out on all of these different books by these different authors that showcase and highlight different cultures. You're missing out, honestly. The last thing that I will say to close out this video, hopefully I kept this short, sweet, and a little naughty. That was cheesy. Readers who say, like, I don't understand why the race or the ethnicity of an author matters. I read what I want. Sure, you can read what you want, but this right here, the Goodreads romance category of this year, is the perfect example of why it matters. And that's all I have to say. I hope it wasn't too negative. Right? I hope it wasn't too negative. But it is what it is. This is my personal opinion. If you don't like it, you don't like it. What can you do? That's it for this video. I'll see you next week. Bye. Okay, let's do, we call it the thumbnail. Okay, how do I do it? Wait, I don't even have anything. Where's my phone? Let's see. Oh, I forgot something. Okay, well, where is it? Here it is. Okay, how do I get to the Goodreads choice?